Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I'm so glad that you decided to tune in because we've got Dr. Alice Benton and Marc Cameron, some wise people who are able to help you, and we're going to take some calls, and we got some calls lined up, so we're glad you're here. Hi, Marc. Hi, Alice. How are you guys doing?
Howdy. Doing
Hi,
great.
guys.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that we hear about so many times is enabling. People talk about, I don't want to enable and all that kind of stuff. But, the real question is, does compassion, caring for somebody, does compassion lead to enabling? Or what is the difference between having a heart towards somebody who may need your help and enabling?
I really enjoyed this topic as a parent myself because I'm really soft-hearted and it can get me into trouble. Because if my compassion focuses on the short-term, pleasant environment around me, I want to make things better for people around me right now. I can lose sight of the longer-term benefits of allowing some holy pain to do character work in my family and with my children. So just for instance, last night I had to put one of my children in a timeout because they were arguing, and they sat there weeping. And I just felt so sorry for that kid who was crying right there. And if I had let my child out of timeout early, they would have been happy. The tears would have dried up and they would have liked me more. But because I choose to allow some temporary holy pain, because I know there's longer-term benefit to allowing discomfort for my child, then my compassion actually does them good in the long run. But I'm a people pleaser and I'm a conflict avoider. So my broken nature wants to make people happy around me right now. And it's to their detriment if I do that and I lose sight of the long-term game. And when we have guilt as parents because maybe there's been a divorce or maybe I've been an angry parent and I know I'm wrong, I've hurt my children and it's been my fault, that can also increase that short-term compassion versus the long game, real benefit to my children.
Mm-hmm.
Good clarity.
Compassion is a wonderful thing, right? The Lord God has put that in us to prompt us to be able to help others, right? Because we're his hands, we're his feet on this earth. But you're right, Alice, when we start to rescue, right, that we start to become enablers, right? And so growth only happens under tension, when we have to experience a tension and struggle with it and see what we can achieve. And when we rescue people, when we jump in and we give too much and we don't allow them to exercise that muscle and see if they can struggle and then recover, ultimately, we end up robbing people of that ability to be able to grow, and then they continue to become dependent upon us. And what's underneath that is usually our own wounds, our own abandonment issues, where it's we want people to, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, right? We want people to be dependent upon us because then we're needed, and then we mean something.
The challenge always is to discern, am I doing for someone what they could be doing for themselves? But like in the example that you just shared, Alice, we don't like to feel the pain of others' consequences. Your child had done something that deserves some sort of consequence, and yet then there's going to be pain with that. And, discerning between hurt and harm, those are parts of that, that equation of compassion versus enabling, and does it lead to enabling? We want you to be a powerful force in your life. We want God to work through your yes and through your no, and in your relationships. And you can see that. I love that you said that, Marc, about God gave us that compassion because that's who God is. I'm thinking on this date, it's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you in deciding whether you're enabling or showing compassion. A little cheesy Star Wars humor doesn't hurt anybody every now and again. We'll be right back after this break. Thanks for listening.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, May 13th. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Speaking of enabling, we have a lot of workshops that can help you with that, and if you're interested, you can check it out. One of the workshops would be emotional freedom, just to help you get disentangled from that enabling and to be helping on purpose. If you want any information about any of our workshops, you can go to newlife.com or you can call us 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Right now, we are going to go to the calls and we're going to talk with Jen, who's calling us from Kansas, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Jen. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi. I'm needing help on how to help my stepdaughter. She called me on Saturday night telling me that she wanted to commit suicide. She has a 5-year-old little girl. She's been through a lot in her entire life. To put it in a nutshell, try to wrap it all up. I'm not sure if faith is an issue for her or if it's her self-worth. When she got out of high school, she married a guy who turned out to be gay, and he left her. Her mother died a few years later of alcohol and prescription drug abuse. She wasn't able to see her dad that often growing up because her mom kept her from seeing him. He always paid child support, but he told the kids he never did. But he has all the check stubs to prove it because he always kept all his check stubs. He showed her, and that relationship is building, but it's slow. It's a slow road. She did call him a few years back when she was in trouble. The boyfriend up and left her, and she was 8 months pregnant, fixing to have the baby. So we went in to another state and brought her back home to Kansas to live with us. And she had the baby here, and she was here with us for 3 years, and it appeared she was doing really good. And then all of a sudden she decided she needed to go back to this other state to help take care of her grandmother on her mother's side because she broke her hip and she hasn't been back. So she's staying there, living there, taking care of this grandmother. And now she has a toddler that she's taking care of, as well. And it seems like she says she's doing everything for everybody else, but, there's no time for her to do anything for herself. And that's why I'm thinking maybe self-worth, because she's not stepping to the plate and taking care of herself, but maybe it's because she doesn't know how. But she was going to go to a facility and then changed her mind the other night. And so when she told me she wasn't going to go because she was afraid, and she had already been there once before several years back when she tried to commit suicide before, and she knew what to expect. So she didn't want to be drugged up. She didn't want to have to go through, being without her phone and not being able to talk to anybody, being in a locked-up facility. So she decided not to go. And so I just started bombarding her through text messages, about God's love and his promise to us, and having faith, and not just saying you have faith, but believe in it and having confidence that he can take you from the depths of despair and pull you out in the blink of an eye. And so then she finally said that next morning that she was just going to try to talk to the pastor, the assistant pastor of the church that she's been visiting. She doesn't normally go to church on a regular basis, but she has told me she is a believer.
Okay, Jen, it sounds like she's safe, right? Like, have you
Yes.
clarified with her that she's not in that same state of mind?
Yes, and I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
She
what's your
has.
question?
She has.
What's your question for us, Jen?
So she said she has talked to her pastor, and so I know that she is talking to somebody locally and that she is getting some help. So I need to know how I can help her with maybe a book, a good Christian book that would, that she could get into that would help her through the situation. I mean, I don't know if it's because she's codependent or because she has no self-worth. I mean, I don't.
Okay.
She hasn't
All
worked
right.
in 6 years. She has.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Well, let's start with you, Mark.
I don't know how to help her.
Well, I was going to
Okay.
ask you here, Jen, where's the father of her kids?
The father of the baby, her baby,
Yeah,
is
the
in the same
5-year-old
town,
and the
but
toddler.
he's with another lady.
Okay, but
He's with another lady, fixing to have another baby.
But he has parental time and custody and things like that.
Joint, yes.
Joint.
She's
Okay.
made a point to do good co-parenting with the father, even though she still feels like she should be with him.
Okay. Is he aware of her thoughts, her suicidal thoughts?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
so we have there's another parent there who can help support here. That's one thing that I just kind of wanted to address here. Well, I love your compassion. We're talking about compassion in the opening of the show, and I love your compassion for her, Jen, and I love that you're offering her words of encouragement. The really hard thing though with depression is we can't generally think our way out of it. It's just this overpowering mood that kind of shapes all of our thinking to be very, very negative. And so if she's really having these self-harm thoughts, she probably needs to be under the care of a professional, a physician, a therapist. Do you know if she has a doctor? Does she have a psychiatrist or a physician?
No, I do not. And I don't even think she knows where to even begin to find somebody to help her with that kind of thing.
Well, we can help you with...
Because her original thought was to go to a place for lockup, and I'm thinking, have you tried your doctor first to get on some antidepressants,
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I would encourage her to do, is to find a counselor and to also be in contact with a physician too, because those people are equipped to be able to handle somebody talking about those scary thoughts that they're having, and to be able to offer them direction too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Jen, are you and your husband able to offer any kind of financial support to her?
We have in the past, as far as when she needed something, we'd always give it to her or give her the money. But her dad's kind of gotten worn down by that. He told her as long as she wanted to come live in our house, we would help take care of her and get her back on her feet. But then she comes and she stays for only so long, and then she leaves because she doesn't like his rules. I mean, she's 32 years old, but as far as helping her move out of the grandmother's house and paying for her a place to stay, her father won't do it.
I'm thinking of a smaller level of intervention, because I think your husband is right to be cautious about just throwing money at the problem. But what I'd like to do is look at with you how she wants you to help her and how she's willing to let you help her. So that perhaps she would be open to you all helping to fund a babysitter coming in, or a caregiver for the grandmother, or even for therapy for herself. I understand her resistance to the high level of an inpatient care. It would be so disruptive to her life. I don't know that it's necessary or not, but of course it's something worth considering. But if we can take a lower level of intervention and it fits well enough with her level of risk, that tends to be something people are more open to. So having her get connected with New Life so that we can connect her with a counselor. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, Jen.
Okay. I was just gonna add, her grandmother comes from a lot of money, and they live on a trust. I don't think the mother or my stepdaughter's mother has ever worked a day in their life because they get trust money. I mean, there's a lot of money there, and there's no reason why the trust can't come in and put her in a home or even get a caretaker for her. They're just choosing not to spend the money.
Well, so what,
like
Jen, she, if your stepdaughter has been helping the grandmother, she in some essence is working, but also I love what you said, Mark, about the dad probably needs to take the 5-year-old until mom gets a little bit more stable. Every mom of young children, it is a lot. I mean, it's just a lot of energy that's going out. And if depression is part of what she's dealing with, which makes sense, she's going to need that support. And, I just think if you're trying to help her, that's going to be probably the next best step, is just to encourage her to seek help. And we'll get you connected with the therapist in that area that she could take advantage of. Alice, you got one more thought that you want to share with Jen?
I'd have you and your husband keep as a hopefully ultimate an option in reserve that you don't want to use if you don't have to. But if you're worried that your step-granddaughter is at risk because of her mom's mental instability, Child Protective Services can be called, and they send in a social worker to do an evaluation and to do some interviewing. And that can connect a family to resources that they don't know how to identify and how to get in contact with. It's a tough option, and it's disruptive, but it can also be very helpful long term. And I'd also caution you, ask your stepdaughter if the spiritual texts are helping. We can sometimes go overboard in giving too strong of a spiritual answer, even though God is always the answer. But sometimes it can be off-putting if we send too much of that in too quick of succession. So you might ask your daughter, how are you liking the kind of text I'm sending? Is that helpful? Do you want me to help in any different way? And let her speak into that question.
Yeah. I love that. We're going to actually, go ahead.
No, I was just going to make one last comment here. I think actually, the parenting aspect, it sounds like it's not a financial motivational thing, but the parenting aspect could be the motivation for her to seek help and get better.
Yeah, we're going to copy Jen of 100 Days of Freedom from Depression. It's a devotional book. And the reason why I was thinking of that is because going back to her being so stressed out about so many things, but this devotional has a little bit of scripture, a thought for the day, a couple of different quotes, and a prayer that's actually, something that she can read and be encouraged by, and maybe give her some direction. And we will connect you with some available counselors in that area. We're glad you called, and we'll be praying for her. Mm-hmm. We're going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk with Steve, who watches us on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. And is calling us from California. Hi, Steve. How can we help you today? Thanks for waiting.
Well, it's nice to hear a familiar voice. It's been a long time since I've actually spoken to any of you, but I'm grateful for this opportunity. And I was planning to listen to you all on the day I made this call, but a friend had called, and I'm so grateful to just have a wonderful conversation. So I got in about halfway in, and I was listening to a young lady, Victoria, and just could really relate to her her issues and things at she's a lot younger, but just kind of like the feeling of having been there or done that, and I just wanted to maybe send out whether she heard it or not, that she's not alone and that there is hope, and that and love is enough when it's defined as God is love, and the idea that not that I'm out of the woods yet, but specifically in the change between the show for today and the one you're recording for May 4th, that this one will air. Pardon me, I don't know if I should have said that, but the idea...
That's okay, Steve.
Which would have been my father's birthday, but I lost him a while back, and I've been caretaking for a long period of time, and evidently with God's help, and just amazing, because if I'd have known what I'd gotten myself into before I went through it, but it was a blessing, and I won't lie, very demanding and challenging. I can understand why our culture's moved away, but
Steve,
with compassion in today's topic, I guess.
Steve, how can we help you today? We're going to come up against a break, and I want to make sure we get to your question before the break.
Okay, well, I kind of try to live by trust God completely, love myself correctly, and others compassionately. And I guess in the idea of compassion, I know I need more help in being self-compassionate to myself, and even though I tend to love others and share, but really taking time to, see myself and others through God's eyes. I just like any insight on how maybe any of you have learned to break free of, our natures and just, allow the Holy Spirit to not only fill us, but to take over our minds so that we can, accept where we are and move forward. And any help with just being more self-compassionate or something that would help others too.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that question, Steve. We'll be considering that over the break. That's a really insightful way to put it. And just in the way that you shared about previous callers, you have a very compassionate heart. We'll explore more of that after this break. We'll be right back.
We went to the Intimacy in Marriage in 2019. We were both done.
This is Steve Arterburn. Do you feel like your marriage is done? New Life can help. We believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life. Our Intimacy in Marriage workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy in Marriage workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to experience a new level of intimacy and have a great marriage.
The transformation phenomenal, and it's transformed our lives so much.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Steve, who is very compassionate towards others, maybe not so much with himself. I think I got that clear, Steve, didn't I? Let's go. Alice, do you want to start, or Mark, who wants to go for it?
Steve, my guess would be that as you ask about self-care, that you might be suffering from burnout as you are a caregiver, and maybe you're feeling physically, spiritually, emotionally depleted. Does that fit for you?
Well, it's been a little while, and I was just starting to get on my feet and had kept both my parents. I had gone right from my mother to my father, and then had managed to keep them out of the hospital and away from COVID. And then just as I was starting to get back on a routine, I had gotten injured and had a freak accident and had to wait and finally got into physical therapy. But the Friday before I was to start that, I'd fallen and injured my shoulder. So when I showed up, so basically, I guess burnout, boy, you hit it on the nail. I just... But I try to just, I've just had to learn to pick myself up, or not even to depend on myself. Yeah, I've learned to just be totally dependent on God, even though I don't pretend to know that I do it very well yet. But the idea that it's scary and can be very overwhelming, especially as you have gotten older and you're still fighting to keep one bloom and possibly a miracle that you could have a wife and a family just because your life is gone, and maybe no way that, I've even prayed for someone that I could relate to that maybe had experienced a similar situation, but I really don't want to go off on a tangent.
Steve,
but yes,
Steve, it sounds like you're taking care of your mom. You wish that you could expand your social interactions, but it's very difficult to do so. And what is one of your main social outlets you have where you do see new people or get to know people?
I don't know about know people, but I'm just going into hopefully finishing my 6th or 7th month of physical therapy, and I actually like exercise. It's a little less brutal now, but turns out I guess good and bad things happened where I ended up with a fellow believer as a physical therapist, and it's just been a challenging but difficult time. And
we hear that. Marc, what would you offer Steve?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to something that you said at the beginning here, Steve, and you were talking about kind of the way that you're learning to live your life. I think you said something along the lines of trust God completely, love others, and have self-compassion. And what you did there is you just kind of succinctly listed really the principles of Christian therapy. And it sounds like, I feel a lot in the ways that you're feeling at times, right? Life happens and we struggle and we have some ups and downs, and sometimes we have longer downs than we do have ups. And so, but what I want to just kind of encourage you in here is just to keep on going with what you're doing. This really is a lifelong battle, right? To learn how to become secure. And I think that you've learned actually some really good principles in here, and some of the principles, I'll tell you a couple that I like to talk to people about. One is something called the observing self, and that's the reflective part of us that kind of looks in and starts to notice things about us, reactivity, different emotions that might be coming up. And then the other thing I like to talk to people about is having something called a balancing brain, to be able to self-soothe and talk ourselves through difficult and challenging situations. And I do think, you are in a hard situation right now as a caregiver, because all the burden really is upon you, but then the focus is really upon the other person. And so I just want to kind of give you some encouragement there to say, keep on going. I think you've got a lot of good principles that you're living your life by. And I think as you continue to do that, I think you'll see some ups come in your life too.
I agree. Alice, do you have anything else?
Steve, I want you to evaluate if self-care feels selfish to you. A lot of us have a limiting belief about that, and it's probably been exacerbated by how our parents treated us or what they expected of us, and that other people might say we're being selfish when we carve out time for ourselves. It's particularly complicated as a caregiver because your mom has so many needs, and you may be one of the only people to meet them. And so identifying if you can access help in caring for your mom and seeing that stepping away from your mom, if and when possible, fuels you so that you can keep loving and caring for her generously. One of the signs that we're burning out is that we start to become bitter and resentful of the help that we're giving. And it can turn into angry helping, which keeps all of us in a sick pattern. And then it's so difficult to recover from that. So evaluating how much you can step away to get refueled so that you can keep loving on your mom well, I think will be key for you.
That's excellent. We're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back. And Steve, I'm going to encourage you to join a life recovery group. You can join them online, so, it's easy to access. But, we talk about the power of community and the power of connection. And group work can be such an essential part of our growth process that I know you guys probably get tired of me saying it all the time, but I just have seen it over and over again. And the power of group in our healing process can help us learn some of the things that Marc, you and Alice are talking about, that insight, the compassion, when to say when, and especially when we are caring for others, we really need to have other people who are caring for us. I hope that you'll consider that. And, maybe you want to join a life recovery group. You can give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we'll get you connected. We'll be right back.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction.
He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict.
There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is being held online Saturday, June 10th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are glad that you have joined us. And, we talked about groups before, but, another help is journaling. We talk about the process of writing your thoughts down, your feelings down. And New Life has a journal that has prompts in it for you so that you don't have to just, a lot of times people can't, think of what to write down. And once you get into the process of journaling, it's amazing how that can help you. And so our gift to you in May, when you give a gift of any amount, is the New Life Journal. And so you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and we'll give you one of those. Right now, we are going back to the calls and we're going to talk with Diana, who's calling us from New York. New York listens on WFIL. Hi, Diana. Thank you so much for waiting. How can we help you today?
Thank you for taking my call. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can.
We can.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can be as direct as possible with my question. I just want to know, how do I respond or set boundary with my husband who left? He left about almost a year ago, a week right before I retired, and he moved to his mom's house. So he has his own apartment, and, he started fixing it and buying all kinds of stuff. And I just want to know how to set boundary because when he left, I let him keep the keys to my house, and he still has them. We have 2 children together. One is 23, one is 20. One is in college, and one is home with me, and she works, and she's also trying to get back to school. So I just want to know how to set boundaries because, when we have family holidays now, he keeps inviting me, and to come down to his mom's house, and
Well, Diana,
yes,
I'm going to ask the question about the elephant in the room. Why did he leave? What is the separation about?
Okay, so we've been married almost 27 years, and throughout our marriage, we had a lot of challenges and very little communication. And so when I tried to communicate, and I'm not going to say I'm not going to put all the blame on him, but we used to get into arguments. There was never a discussion of we just didn't communicate well. We would end up shouting. My husband would end up leaving. And he didn't really want to address verbally, the situation, because at times he felt that I would attack him verbally. And yes, I cannot say that's not true, but we both did the same thing. And also, over the years, I became a little resentful, I guess, because he got himself into debt. And when I tried to address and tell him, listen, stop buying, because he likes buying a lot of stuff that he didn't need. So while I was working all these years, he would rely on me to buy things to fix in the house. So he relied a lot on me financially, but then and my kids would get upset with me because they say I work too hard. But then if I didn't work hard, then we couldn't sustain our finances,
So Diana, we get it. So there are lots of breakdown in communication, not just in words, but also in values and just the agreement that comes with marriage. One more question and I'll let Alice and Marc take over. Are you divorcing? Is it just like a perpetual separation? What's the plan there?
It's interesting because we haven't really discussed that. Like when he comes to visit his kids, he always invites me to go out with him for dinner. And the sad part is that there's no plan. And I'm just confused. Like, I don't know what to do, quite frankly.
Okay. All right. Well, Marc and Alice will help on this clarification. Let's start with you, Marc.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of positives in your situation here, Diane. And I know it might not feel like that, but your husband, I think, like you said, you guys have been married 27 years. Every couple has a conflict pattern. And it sounds like yours were just not able to be figured out. And so his resolution to it was, to break it somehow. And to break it was to move out. But he's still checking on you, and this is what I think the positives about this is that he's still checking on you, he's still inviting you, he still wants to be in relationship with you. And so I'd actually written that down before we even got there, is that you guys do need a plan. You need a plan for your separation. You need a plan for what is happening right now, because otherwise you're kind of left in this perpetual unknown, and you don't really know whether you're moving toward anything, and even if you are moving, are you getting closer? And so that's what I would encourage you to do, is to be able to sit with your husband and, again, trying to break this conflict pattern, to talk about the positive parts that you appreciate that he's checking on you, and then to ask him, how do we move forward from here? What's the plan? And to see if you guys can sit down and collaborate together and come up with some milestones that you can check against to see that you are moving forward. One thing that I would encourage, you haven't mentioned it here, is couples counseling. And you can have a counselor, we can put you in touch with one who can help you identify the core conflict pattern that you guys are stuck in, and help you learn how to navigate issues in a more productive way.
I actually suggested that before he left, and I said, why don't we fight for a marriage? Let's get counseling. And over the years, I have been suggesting that, but he has been resistant, and I told him, we've been married so many years, do you really want to do this? Because I suggest we get counseling. I've been suggesting that. Let's fight for a marriage. But
what do you think he's most resistant about in counseling?
Okay, so I'm not quite sure, but I feel like he just doesn't want to expose himself, like be vulnerable. Like he has a hard time being vulnerable and just like talking about, or maybe do you feel he'll be convicted, or I don't know. I mean, he has this fear, I guess, of, recognizing. I know none of us are perfect, so he may not want to recognize some of the things that have happened that maybe his, I don't want to say his fault, but I guess.
Well, see, and that's the big question mark, right, Diana? So the communication problems are continuing.
And that might be where you might want to start, Diana, is asking him what are his hesitations, and then helping him see that therapy can be safe with you. And I think if it can be safe, like I said, these checking behaviors, he's wanting to resolve somehow, he just doesn't know how.
And Diana, you have a hidden strength in your humility, because you're able to say, I have been resentful and I did verbally attack him at times. And I know, Diana, you've had reason for it. The financial dynamics in your relationship, it even sounds like maybe you've been the financial provider and he's been the spender, and you've had to work double, triple hard to keep up with the bills that he incurs with the materialism. So sometimes a way we make therapy safer, because you're the one that's motivated to access therapy and he's not. If you haven't already started working on yourself to address how you've responded to his unhealthy behavior and letting him know, I'm working on the fact that I've been resentful and I've been hard, I've been harsh, I haven't known how to handle the problems in our relationship. So I'm going for individual therapy because I know I need to work on myself. Would you consider coming in even just to one of my sessions to give me feedback, to me and my therapist, about what it's been like to be married to me? And sometimes that can be a launching pad as your husband sees you during doing the work and taking accountability, which you want him to do, and he hasn't been able to do yet. Sometimes leading by example can lower his defenses and interest him in the therapeutic work because you're showing the path to becoming safer.
I love that idea too, sorry, Becky, of inviting him to come in, because then that's a way to make therapy safe for him, because then he's not the focus of therapy. You are, but then he gets to be able to give his input.
Yeah, well, and I just think whenever you have relationships where clarity is missing, I mean, it's better to understand where the challenges are. But, Diana, I think you said he has his own place now. Is that right?
Well, here's the thing. He moved into his mom's house, and there's an empty apartment, and he doesn't pay rent because I think they're also an enabler, his mom and his family.
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
Things to do by himself. They know he's not paying rent, and they're always embellishing him with like going to expensive restaurants and things like that. And they pay for it. So,
right. So the problem is that your husband doesn't have a problem. And so that's where the issue of everyone's enabling, including you, Diana, when you're not calling him to, we've got to figure this out. Like, I hear the compassion that you have for him, but I don't know how much this is bugging you. I mean, obviously you called us today. So I love what you said, Alice, about get into your own work so you get clear. And then when you're clear, you can invite him into clarity. And, go ahead, Alice.
Sometimes we need to enact a consequence in order to call even a spouse's attention to their behavior. And so whether that's separating finances because he has not been financially trustworthy, that can also shine a light on a problem that perhaps you haven't known how to talk about. But do that with the strategizing and the help of a counselor.
I agree. And we're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back because, I know we talked about that earlier, but, just that clarity of what is on my side of the street, what is something that I can take ownership of or surrender to so that I can move in that clarity. We're grateful that you called, Diana, and we'll be praying for this situation and praying for your whole family. You never know how when you make those boundaries or when you get that clarity, how God shows up in the middle of that and clears everything up. And we're praying for that for you. We'll be right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries. We know that Christian counseling changes lives. We hear evidence of that every day.
My relationships with my husband, with my friends, with my family are much richer and deeper and honest. Particularly my relationship with God, I see Him in a more accurate form and begin to trust Him more. There's joy and there's peace because I have the internal tools that I can trust. So it's radically changed my life. I'm just not even the same person.
Our nationwide network of licensed Christian counselors means there is help available near you.
Take the leap, jump in, and go for it. It's changed my life completely.
You don't have to be stuck where you are, but you can't really expect to change unless you take action. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It could be the start of a whole new life for you. Christian counseling works, and we can help. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE today. someone who cares is always there at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If I haven't said this before, I just want to thank you for however way you are listening to us. And we're grateful to be on podcasts, on the internet, YouTube, just all different kinds of ways. We have a free app that you can download wherever you get your apps. And we're here to help others find their new life. Right now, Larry Sonnenberg has joined us in the studio because Larry helps us find our new life in so many ways. Hi, Larry. How are you doing today?
Becky, doing really well. Thank you. I typically come in with testimony to really encourage folks who could support us to do so. But two things in my mind. One, testimonies are so you see what has happened with people in the past. But I'd like you folks to think about also what your money given to New Life will do to help people going forward. And right now we have a matching gift. So my simple plea and appeal to you is, please make a gift, it will be doubled. It's pretty simple. You give $10, New Life will realize $20. And that's a big deal, because if you give 100, that's 200. If you give 1,000, that's 2,000. Whatever amount you give, it's going to be doubled. And that's going to make a big difference.
I want to appeal particularly to those of you who have listened for a while but have yet to give, because I was in your shoes for way too long.
Yeah, I meant to talk to you about that.
Because I was getting better than a graduate education by listening to the New Life radio show, and I was applying it to my life and benefiting in all of my relationships, but I had yet to respond with gratitude, with a gift back to New Life. And our airtime is incredibly expensive. We have to pay to be able to provide the radio show. And so I asked that, like me, if you benefited without giving back, now's the day to step forward and to show your gratitude by helping us stay on the air, please.
You know, one of the things that I think is really amazing is when we started this program a million years ago, it wasn't a million, maybe 35, you could only listen on the radio. And that's why I started with the conversation about you can hear us in many different ways. And sharing the program helps people to find help and hope. And, thanks, Larry, for telling us about this matching gift. Alice, you were just talking about getting a master's degree or a graduate degree. One of the things that I think is so true about that is that we learn all the time. And, as we think about the challenges that people are facing today, whether it is relationships, whether it is financial, whether it is spiritual, whether it is physical, there's something that God is doing through what you guys share here on the program and what our other co-hosts share on the program. So I just want to say thank you for your wisdom and how you share. Larry, do you have anything else that you want us to hear before we go?
Real quickly, we heard from a lady the other night that told us she hasn't listened to the program in years, but she gives every month. She's a Club New Life member, and this ministry made such a difference in her life during times of need that she never wants to forget us. So she joined Club New Life, and she gives every month. And I just want to encourage you folks, you could do the same thing. You're probably still here in the program, but would love for you just to consider joining Club New Life.
Well, and then the benefits, too, of joining Club New Life. There's so many videos on there, so you can get advice, not just from listening to the show, but from the access to all of these videos, hundreds of videos on there. And you search the topic, you get to pick what you're struggling with, what you want to listen to, and it's there.
Well, I appreciate all that you do for us, Larry, and all of the donors that are helping us do what we can do. I mentioned that we have been around for a million years. Not really. We really haven't been around for a million years, but we've been around a long time. And in the early days, we had different hosts, and every once in a while, we get to kind of look back and hear some of those calls. And so we're going to go to a call with Claire, with John and Henry. Go ahead, Terry.
Yes, I was telling the person who answered the phone that my issue is that I have been married over 20 years to a pastor, and it has been a struggle, and I basically cannot trust him to tell me the truth. I cannot operate in my daily life with sufficient information to make financial decisions, that type of thing. And I guess I'm at the point where I've tried to get help. There are attempts at counseling over 10 years ago. I just, when somebody remains unrepentant, is there ever a time that you can do something to protect yourself and just move on?
So sorry. Has he expressed any desire to move closer to you, to have a better relationship with you?
Absolutely, just the opposite.
Just the opposite?
Yes.
And do you have any evidence that there's been any unfaithfulness to you in all this?
No.
No?
No, just not telling the truth.
Well, here's what I would say. I would say that at a minimum, any pastor who is insensitive to his wife's desire to make the marriage better, that is something that ought to be made public. That's my thought, that you go to him and you say, honey, we have to do something about this marriage. I'm expecting that you will respond to my desire for us to get some help. And then if not, you bring someone else with you to talk with him. The head of the elder board or deacons or a friend.
That was my thinking. He's in a context, Clara. Who else has been brought in? He doesn't live in a vacuum, so who's in?
Well, we've had Christian counseling in the past, but there's no elder board to go to really. There are a few deacons.
Okay, let me here's what I'm going to do. Because he's a pastor and I hear your pain, I want you to tell him that you talked to us today and we're willing to give both of you a scholarship to go to the New Life Weekend. Okay?
Okay.
And if he's not willing to, I want to talk to him. I'm going to beat him up. Tell him, hey, listen, this woman of yours loves you and is trying to save this thing, and you need to get your act together.
And there've just got to be other people.
Yeah.
Like other pastors that you know, people in the same denomination. Yeah. I mean, somebody needs to speak into his heart besides just you, Henry.
Yeah, and in response to the one thing that you said, is it ever okay if somebody is unrepentant for somebody to protect themselves? Absolutely. One of the saddest things that a lot of people labor under is because they're Christians and they believe in forgiveness and patience and long-suffering and love and all of that, that sometimes they feel like it's a spiritual thing to be hurt or to be not listened to or to be abused or controlled, whatever the problem is. And the Bible also teaches, not only does it teach love, but it teaches that love has got to have structure to it. It's got to have requirements, and it's got to have standards. It's got to have boundaries. Right. And so to put your foot down is not only to protect you, but also to follow exactly what the Scripture says to speak the truth in love. And so sometimes the Bible says, for example, in Matthew 18, if he doesn't listen to you, like Steve said and John said, you bring in 2 more people, and then you bring in others, and then you have to do an intervention sometimes. And sometimes the Bible actually says that you do have to separate from somebody. So nobody out there anywhere who's being abused. Now, we don't know your situation, and we don't know the other side and all of that, but if you're being hurt in some way, there's nothing wrong with standing up to that in the appropriate way.
Yeah.
The Bible teaches that.
All right. I'm glad you called. I'm going to send you Boundaries in Marriage, and I think it could really help you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. The wisdom from behind and in the future, it's just amazing. We're glad you joined us. Thanks, Alice. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, listeners. And we'll see you next time. If you need anything, you can give us a call. We're here for you. We appreciate you listening. God bless you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.